Try to. Okay, now we're at. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 11th business meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. Let's begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, actually, we're in an extension of a business meeting we opened earlier. We decided we had some time, so we moved the closed session originally scheduled after this meeting to before this meeting. So we opened the meeting, went to closed session. Since it was closed, nobody missed anything. We're back in open session now. We have the entire board present. We'll conduct business as published. And at this time, let's see, the first thing, we had our study session. Meeting's called to order. And I'm going to ask the board to allow me to add another presentation as to open this meeting. Okay. Moved by the supervisor, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss, and it will be a recognition of some acts of some of our public safety. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will be added. Any other additions, deletions to the agenda?
Yes, sir. Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a recommendation that we remove action item number 4.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Smith and seconded by Trustee Budney to remove action item number 4. Discussion? Ms. Smith?
I think this project, as far as the planning for the master plan, needs to be discussed in a study session, and I would like to see a study session presented in the next couple of weeks.
Well, it'll be sooner than that, but have it as soon as possible. I have read the master plan, and Ms. Boyd's aware that I have some changes, minor, but that need to be made. I don't know if anybody else has proposed any change, improvements, deletions. Any other? Mr. Treasurer?
Is there any urgency if this gets delayed by 2 weeks? Do we put ourselves in any jeopardy on grants or anything? No.
Okay. Other discussion? Okay.
Other than, I think it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
It's something that's important, and we should have the proper discussion on it.
Very good. Right. Okay, those in favor of removing, tabling isn't right. We're just removing action item 4, the adoption of the rec master plan. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the motion does carry with dissent from Trustee Posias. Other additions, deletions to tonight's agenda? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving tonight's agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That will stand as amended. With that, next thing I have is brief public comment based on the agenda as amended. Anything on? Okay, no comments on tonight's agenda yet? All right, move on to presentations, and the first time I'm going to ask. I'm used to Bob Brown. I'm sorry, Mr. Moore. I'm going to ask you. I've got a bunch of my public safety people here that they put in enough time. And I've already made them wait. So I'm going to ask Chief Porcerelli to make his presentation. Chief Murdoch, whoever's in charge of the presentation, which will be both our public safety team.
Out there. Just to give you a brief synopsis of what occurred, the police department received a call that there was 2 men clinging to a boat out in the mouth of Lake Erie, right at the end there of Gibraltar Bay. So the officers went out there. They were able to spot 2 individuals in the water And there was a gentleman, he's here tonight, Daniel Abraham is his name, that he made a decision to take his own boat out there, and one of our officers had to make the decision. Actually, he was a shift commander that night, went out with him. It's not something we normally do. It's not something the fire department was on the way, but they took it into their own hands at that time and thought, what is the balance of our safety? Putting someone else before their safety, obviously, in this situation. Apparently, the waves weren't that big, but there was a rogue wave that tipped their boat over, capsized their boat. So it obviously wasn't the best time to go out. It was near dark. There were other issues. Obviously, the water was very cold. It's cold right now, but a few weeks ago it was even colder. So they went out. One of the officers were able to go on the shore and spot the individual, and all in all, we were able to grab the two gentlemen. Now, and I have to apologize. So the two gentlemen, yes, sir, we here tonight. They look a lot better now than they did. I don't recognize as good tonight, but they are both here. I asked them to come here. They were more than happy to come. I had Mr. Abraham come, and the two officers are Patrolman Doug Carmack and Patrolman Todd Brozek. And what I did is Patrolman Doug Carmack, who was a shift commander, went in the boat with Mr. Abraham. I am going to be giving him a letter of commendation for going above and beyond the normal course of duty. Doug, if you want to come on up, please. And if you can hold everything to the end. And your family, make sure they don't. Yeah. I'm going to give Todd Brozek a departmental commendation for a job well done in this incident. Go, young man. Come on up here. And Mr. Abraham. The cameras. Mr. Daniel Abraham took it upon himself to take Doug in the boat. And again, put himself before others this time, and I'm very proud to say thank you, and I have a police department commendation for you also. So Chief Murdoch would like to say a few things.
Jim and I discussed this, of course, on how we wanted to handle this. And, of course, I had two guys that were out in the water at the same time as the alleged two victims were. It must have been a fire department day out there fishing. So as I had two guys out there fishing at the same time, Jim Kovich and Bob Roscoe, and they responded to the same call to assist. They did assist the police department, and we retrieved the boat and brought it in. This just goes to show you the importance of public safety when it comes to police and fire. I think the bottom line here is police and fire, and I know these two gentlemen can attest to it, I know my two guys can attest to it, that these two organizations work in concert. They take care of us and we take care of them. And we take care of the public. And at the end of the day, what the outcome was is two gentlemen are here sitting with their wives. I hope saying wives. So they're sitting here healthy, talking and walking. It was a very critical situation. Both of them were hypothermic. I think you probably knew that. Yeah. So, and hypothermia, when it starts setting in, especially for these two gentlemen, becomes a life-threatening situation. Grosio Fire did transport to South Shore, and the outcome was fantastic. So, fire department's doing the same thing. This is a job well done commendation, and I want to thank my guys for being out there fishing. I don't want you doing that again. What happens? But all in all, everybody did a great job, and I want to thank Todd and the rest of the team for doing what they did. It was a great job.
You notice I always use the term the public safety team, and we just see it exemplified here. Every time I've seen them in action, they work seamlessly. It's just, unfortunately, we have to see it, but when we do, it works very well.
And
Chief?
Mr. Supervisor, if I may just take one more minute of your time, would it be possible if one of these gentlemen want to say anything? Is that possible tonight?
Yeah, certainly. The recipients of our...
Would either of you want to come up?
I would like to say something.
Something I know that more than happy to come here tonight. And I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks.
I'm gonna do my best to hold this together and keep it short. My friend Mike is a firefighter. I'm a veteran of the Iraq War, so. For us to be in the position where we're receiving help is extremely humbling. To be honest with you, I've been in some scary situations. I know Mike has too. Death has knocked at our door before, but it's never been this scary. So, on behalf of my children, Mike's child on the way, our parents, our wives, our brothers and sisters, they all thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it and how much this has been an extremely eye-opening experience, especially from from Texas. Your water's cold. Going out with the leisure of Texas water and not thinking about the situation, it has been very eye-opening. And trust me when I say our lesson has been learned. Safety factors that we have not taken in before are being taken now. Thank you very much. You saved our lives. Our lives are so close, it's not even funny. We can't joke. When that sun started setting, we thought we were done. We prayed to God and we started screaming. I don't know who heard our voice. I really don't. Apparently, we were far enough away from the shoreline where we couldn't even be seen without binoculars. If that kind of puts into latitude the stress of the situation, we were very scared. And these guys came out of nowhere. And thank y'all so much. I appreciate it.
Do you gentlemen live on Grosse Ile? Do you live on Grosse Ile?
No, sir.
What would it take to get you to move here? We have a great public safety department.
Look for firefighters too. All right. Okay. But thanks for coming tonight. Thanks for sharing your story. And our public safety team, once again, job well done. Okay, and some parts of my job are better than others, and that's one of the best parts. And now, Mr. Moore, I know it's a tough act to follow, but...
So ironically, last year I went after a bunch of elementary children, and that was also a tough act to follow. So I'm glad to be back, though. Good evening, Supervisor Loftus, Clerk, Township Trustees. I want to thank each of you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you tonight about the Senior Alliance. As we provide, I'll be happy to answer any questions, or you can contact us by phone by calling 1-800-815-1112 or emailing info@tsalink.org, or you can visit our website by going to www.aaa1c.org. Before I leave you this evening, I would like to now read a statement regarding the state of nutrition programs in southern and western Wayne County. The state and federal governments provide funding to TSA for nutrition programs. TSA conducts an RFP process and selects vendors to assess program applicants and participants, prepare meals, and administer the program. Wayne County has been the vendor for the TSA nutrition program for over 35 years. Historically, Wayne County has provided a financial subsidy from its general fund to ensure the Meals on Wheels program did not have a wait list. As a result of the financial crisis Wayne County is currently confronting, the county has discontinued the subsidy. To prevent an immediate disruption of service during fiscal year 2016, the Senior Alliance is adding $670,000 in one-time emergency funding to the Meals on Wheels program. Wayne County retains responsibility for all day-to-day operations and management through the end of the contract year, which is September 30th, 2016. Future funding of the program requires implementation of a nutrition process to reduce the number of people receiving home-delivered meals beginning in the spring of 2016. The nutrition process will reduce the number of participants to a level that fiscal year 2017 funding can support. It is possible that a wait list for the Meals on Wheels program will begin to form later this year. This spring, TSA will be conducting an RFP process to select a vendor for nutrition programs for fiscal years 2017 through 2019. You will also find a fact sheet in your packets with additional information. Again, thank you very much for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore, actually,
Yes.
I have a question, if you don't mind. I noticed on the line item care transitions is community. Can you tell me what the care transitions is?
So, and I unfortunately, I'm not an expert on the model, but the broad strokes would be that we go into a hospital and we partners with some area hospitals, and we work with patients to transition them out of the hospital, and then there's some clinical steps along the way. And I apologize, I'm not being vague, but we continue to work with them for 30 days. That's an intervention to ensure that they don't readmit. So making sure that they visit their PCP.
So it's rehoming. It's not going back into like a senior facility or anything like that.
Correct, but we do also transition out of nursing facilities.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Just another comment,
Sure.
if you would. I happen to know a little bit about Meals on Wheels.
Mm-hmm.
My wife delivers Meals on Wheels on Grosse Ile every day. It's a rare occasion when she doesn't. She delivers meals. She hangs curtains. She spends 5 minutes talking to people who may have not seen anybody for a couple or 3 or 5 days.
Right.
She may be asked to go shopping for cookies or night crawlers. She answers phones on Saturday, Sunday, and evenings. And I think that the thing that isn't on this sheet, can't ever show on this sheet, is the spirit of compassion. This program has compassion.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, a lot of the folks, that is the only time they do get.
Thanks for letting my Suze be a part of it. Thanks for keeping up.
And thank you very much for your support, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. That will conclude tonight's presentations. With that, move to the consent agenda. Mr. Treasurer.
Tonight's consent agenda is quite lengthy. I'm looking for approval for consent agenda 16-001, which includes the minutes of the regular meeting of March 14th, 2016, check register dated April 1st, 2016 through April 8th, 2016, resolution of support for Tiger Grant, resolution authorizing execution of annual street sweeping permit for Wayne County, resolution authorizing execution of annual special events permit for Wayne County, resolution for authorizing execution of annual maintenance permit for Wayne County, and resolution authorizing execution of annual pavement restoration permit for Wayne County.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Budney. Questions on the consent agenda?
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Treasurer, I'm sorry, Trustee Buddy. Mr. Buddy.
I have two quick questions on the check register. Actually, the easiest way to get to them is through the invoice distribution report, page 7 of 16. I'm hoping this is just an error. There was a golf lesson refund, but it's charged to planning and zoning. Is that just a glitch or? Oh, okay. I was hoping it was something like that. Thank you. The other question I have is on page 9 of 16. About 2/3 of the way down, if you go down, you'll see there's two items for rowing. It's the second item, $1,800 paid to the Groseal Rowing Club evidently for U.S. Rowing Association membership and insurance. I just wondered what the heck that was because, we don't have a rowing program. I'm just wondering why, and, with Rec's budget, needing all the support we can give it, and us having to take out a general fund to support your budget, I'm wondering why this expense. I just don't understand it.
The support started probably 15 or 20 years ago when the club started, the rowing club and the recreation department. It was a way to offset some of their costs and to provide a program. It's not the high school program, it's the club. So it's providing recreational opportunities for middle school and high school kids a program we don't offer. So the agreement started, like I said, many moons ago, probably 20 years ago, and that's something that the CRC has supported and hasn't been questioned. So it goes to their fees for their membership and then their insurance for the regatta that they do.
And this is for their members?
It's for their club.
For their, yeah.
Yes.
So it could be anybody, any child off the street can play.
Yes.
They don't have to be a member to be part of this. The children that are involved.
They would have to be a part of the rowing program, but it's not limited to you can go but you can't. Like it's whoever in the club and they provide this program.
So you have to be a member of the club.
Yes.
The Groseal Rowing Club. We're not talking anything with school. We're talking about the Groseal Rowing Club, a private entity.
Well, it's
a private entity.
It's
a private entity. Yeah, sure. I know we don't want to get into the tax effect of it. It's a private entity. And
the community group.
Yeah, as they all are. I just didn't understand how this worked into ours because I never see anything in rec with row, and I wondered how we had the extra money to do this when when we have a tough budget.
It's a budgeted item, and it had been in the budget. When I started last year and was reviewing the budget, I had made several phone calls, and it has been in our budget for many, many years.
Okay.
Okay, so just because it's in there for many, many years, do we keep doing that? I mean, when we get to a point of just anybody who can form a club, and then we start paying dues for their membership to some association as well as their insurance. And the insurance, actually, when Mr. Budney informed me about this earlier, I mean, it seems like if we're paying their insurance, don't we have some sort of liability to that as being the payee?
I can't answer that question.
All right, we're at the point where we're on a consent agenda. If you want this moved off consent into an action item, now's the time to make your motion. These are questions that could have been resolved, I think, earlier.
Well,
before the board meeting, but
okay. Well, that goes back to the other things because we don't get this until Friday evening.
Okay.
So some people work Saturday, Sunday, and then I have to at some point try to make contact with somebody here, get answers right before 6 o'clock tonight. So again, there's a flaw in the system when it comes to communications. I don't ever recall seeing this on the budget.
it's, I mean.
Is there a contract? Do we have an agreement with this group?
All right, again, same question.
Okay,
If you
all
want it, we can move it to an action item and continue there, but we're on a consent agenda. Other questions, comments on the consent agenda?
Are we going to move it, or
Yeah.
what do you?
I will, well, again, that should have been done probably in, okay? So that would be the motion, to move the check register to an action item.
Well, you've already got.
Okay?
Here, you've got the
All right,
information in front of you.
all
Right
right,
off the
so, thank you, Mr. Clerk. We have a motion and a support to approve or not approve the entire consent agenda as published. So if there are any other questions on the consent agenda as published, with none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, that motion carries, but we will continue this discussion and make sure it's resolved to your satisfaction. All right, the consent agenda is approved. Yeah. With that, action item number 1. And Mr. Budney's going to be busy tonight because these are pretty much, this is
Actually, I think I only have 2.
you just did, well, this one.
This one, well, yeah, and the second one is, but this is a motion to authorize the annual community resolution accepting long-term maintenance of storm water management systems within the Township of Groseal. So that's the motion.
Second.
Okay. And this is actually something, this resolution is something that should have been up in the consent
Right.
agenda. It
With
was put
the
down
rest of the
here.
resolutions.
With the rest of the resolutions. It's another annual resolution that we need to comply with Wayne County on our storm sewer water permit.
Questions from the board on this resolution? Again, it's a reauthorizing, much like the other ones we did in the consent agenda. It's required every year. I know what happens when we are tardy in returning them to Wayne County, but anyway, it's a renewal, and we have to do it every year. And Ms. Benedetto is not here tonight if there's any questions to ask her. So, any questions from the board on this resolution? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the resolution executing the annual stormwater permit for Wayne County, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That is hereby resolved. Let's see. Capital improvement bonds.
You want me to handle this?
Well, one of the two of you is the expert. So,
You want to take it, Ted? Go ahead, Ted.
This is a motion. This is a motion, notice of intent of resolution 2016 capital improvement bonds. You want me to go, well, I need a second for this. All right,
Support.
yeah. Okay. Moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Clerk Ranka.
The adoption of this resolution will allow the Township of Groseal to publish its intent to issue general obligation capital improvement bonds pursuant to Act 34, Public Act of Michigan 2001, as amended in the amount not to exceed $6,500,000 for the purpose of paying for all or part of the costs acquired in construction and financing, equipping the water supply system improvements to the Township of Groseal, including replacement of water mains, together with all related apparatus and attachments. The funding will be used for the water main replacement on East River Road, which we've already started, ferry to Horse Mill. Ferry to Horse Mill. I'll repeat that. The funding is to be used for the water main replacement for East River Road between Ferry to Horse Mill. An estimated cost of $2.45 million, which is approved by the Township Board on February 22nd, 2016. It will also be used for another water main replacement on West River Road between Groseal Parkway and Church Road, at the estimated cost of $4,050,000. Again, these projects will be funded through the capital improvement program currently being implemented with the Department of Public Works, financed through the user charges, in other words, water rates and water rates. And these projects are possible at this time due to prior bond obligation maturities that are being paid off within the next couple of years, and all that really means is it probably will have very little effect on your water rates.
Okay. Discussion among the board. Let me take the lead. I think the Flint water debacle has dropped off the radar scopes a little bit, but this is an example of why we are not part of a water supply debacle. Capital improvement plan, we're staying ahead of the repairs. I'd like to see a couple extra fire hydrants on East River Road. I'm sure you got excellent. Drive that stretch. Put it through my glasses or chief glasses, and you see a 1,000-foot stretch between fire hydrants. That's too far. Because the fires are always when the weather's just the crappiest, and the guys are out there, in the worst conditions. That's too far to be stretching hoses. So we're going to get, and you've seen them. They're those big blue polyethylene pipes. They'll outlast anybody here. They will have reliable water for human consumption, everyday use, and for firefighting, which is hopefully we never have to use. But we're improving our system. You're paying for it, but we're all paying for it. But we will not have a debacle regarding water supply in Grosse Ile Township. And that's because of our forward-looking of our DPS, working with our firefighters and your township board, and keeping the public advised of what we're doing with their dollars. Other comments, questions from the board?
I just have one more comment. This project, especially the East River water main, it was engineered probably 5 years ago. Wasn't completed simply because of the bond obligations we currently had, and secondly because of the extreme bond issue that we're dealing with the sewer project, which put a lot of these infrastructure projects on hold. As we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with our water mains, some of the bonds being paid off, we need to keep this infrastructure up to date. It's critical for the health and welfare of the community. I've been a driving force on upgrading these two water mains for a long time. This will complete the loop around the island, so we'll have a 12-inch water main around the entire island. There's still some work that needs to be done interior. We will address those factors as we get some bonding ability available. We're trying to do all of this without increasing water rates, sewer rates, and of course a tax issue with the bonding rates. So I think it's very important that we move forward with both of these projects. In the West River project, it just didn't make any sense to bond for one and then have to come out next year and pay the bonding cost to bond for another. So even though that job isn't completely engineered yet, we're bonding for both projects. We do have a valid estimate on it.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Other questions, comments from the board? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the notice of intent for the resolution 2016 capital improvement bonds for the aforementioned water main projects, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Thank you. All right, this is something that just has to be done, a request that has to be made by the Township Board. To pursue the installation of an entryway sign on BASF property indicating direction to Grosse Ile.
Support.
Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by Trustee Budney. The background, Mr. Paul Smoke, owner of the Grosse Ile Bridge Company, has been pursuing the installation of a Grosse Ile entryway sign with a little help from Ms. Pam Frucci and a few others. There was at one time an entryway sign pointing to Grosse Ile along Jefferson, was knocked down. It was removed somehow and never replaced. So BASF Corporation, where we would be locating the sign on private property, requires the request originate with the municipality rather than a private entity. Installation of the sign would be fully funded by the bridge company with no expense of the township or BASF Corporation. This signage was originally approved by DPS Commission in September 2013 to place it on a Wayne County easement, and will be similar to the entryway sign on the near the Wayne County Bridge, currently on DTE property.
Just a little information to add. Yeah, I started on this with the bridge company. We went back and forth with Wayne County to put it on their right-of-way, and they wouldn't let us. So then I went to BASF because we felt that we could get a sign over, just across the line from the right-of-way on BASF's part. And literally, it's taken from 2013 until now to get that approval from BASF because they had to go all the way back to their parent company to get that approval. The sign, although similar, it will not have, I believe the sign at DTE says sponsored by. They wouldn't allow that. BASF wouldn't allow that either. They won't allow any other company to be named on something that's on their property. So it'll just say Groseal. But it's something that I think we need there. I'm very happy that Mr. Smoke and the Bridge Company is willing to put that up at their expense and not even have their name on it as sponsoring it or paying for it. But I'm glad it's finally coming to fruition.
Thank you, Mr. Buddy. Other questions, comments from the board?
Yes.
Mr. Alvesto.
I see in the bottom it says attachments. There's a site plan sketch, which I don't see. But is there a sketch showing where it's exact?
Glad you asked. Gosh, if the overhead was working, turn this the right way around. How to best present it? Is the overhead working? Ms. Boyd? No.
That should, I think.
All right, bear with me.
Oh, boy.
Bridge Road. Basically, if you're going north on Jefferson, you'll see it'll be on the BASF is on that corner. Do you have that working?
Yeah. Another one? What do I want to look at? What part do you want?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
What part do you want me to show?
I'll show it the sign.
Yeah.
Figure out the exact location. Actually, show the
Good job, Randy.
Get the little map that's up center right. The railroad track.
And that bends there, so that's what makes it really difficult for you to picture exactly where it's going to be. But it's right there at Bridge and Jefferson is where it'll be. When you're coming from Trenton, let's say, and coming around, when you make that turn, you'll be able to see it. The people will be able to see it coming down from Wyandotte. We thought that'd be the best place. So,
yeah, probably
and
location for it. And
yeah, that's.
I don't know why that. Got a small version of the site plan, but I did.
Nice job. Nice.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, stay.
Thanks, well done.
Yeah.
The sign itself will be identical to
Right.
the one on DTE, very similar to one that's on Groseal when you enter it. The Townsend sign, they're very attractive signs, not utilitarian at all, and I think we'll be happy with it. Other questions or comments? Well, we've got the site plan out. This is okay. With none offered, those in favor of approving the authorizing the requesting the installation of an entryway sign on BASF property, indicate direction to Groseal, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered? Thank you. And Mrs. Frucci, thank you.
Yes, Pam. Believe me, I got calls from Pam on that I keep going on it. So yes, Pam, you do deserve credit.
Okay. Item number 4 has been delayed, and that'll move us on to fire proposal.
You have an opinion?
I'll go ahead and introduce this. Motion to recommend based on the recommendation of the Grosse-Ile Township Fire Marshal to grant a fireworks permit to Ace Pyro LLC to provide public fireworks display on Friday, May 20th, with a rain date of Saturday, May 21st, 2016. This is obviously for Island Fest. Was it Mr. Posiask?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Posiask. History, purpose, and explanation, fireworks. This is going to be the Downriver Fireworks Show. So what can I say? It's fireworks. Trenton has canceled their July 4th fireworks show. This will be the summertime Downriver Fireworks Show. Maybe Wyandotte. Dr. Morris, Ace Pyro, he raises pretty much most of the fund for it. Other questions? Comments from the board? Cynicism. Other questions or comments from the board? None offered. Those in favor of, based on the recommendation of the Grosse-Ile Township Fire Marshal, grant the fireworks permit to Ace Pyro LLC for public fireworks display May 20th, rain date May 21st, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We will have fireworks. That concludes tonight's action items. With that, we'll move on to clerk's report.
Mr. Supervisor, we've got an election coming up again. So the next election will be a school district bond proposal. Election is Tuesday, May 3rd. Please contact the school district by phone or on their website for information about the proposal. Or you can get a sample ballot the clerk's website or on the homepage of the township clerk's page, or you can also get a sample ballot at the clerk's office. Registration deadline for new students new residents to update their voter information for new voters to register and be eligible to vote on the May 3rd election was April the 4th. A voter registration drive was held at Grosse-Ile High School on April 4th, at which 30 eligible new voters were registered. And thank you to Ms. Suzanne Sasick for her assistance with the registration drive. And this is an issue we have with our polling locations for this particular election. So because of this scheduling conflict at the St. James Church, which is precinct number 3, for the May election only, we will need to use a different location as a temporary election precinct. The voters in precinct 3 will be voting at the school district administration building located behind the middle school for this election only. Again, this is precinct 3. Every registered voting household within Precinct 3 will receive an informational letter providing more information about the location change during the week of April 18th. Signs will also be posted at St. James Church to direct voters to the temporary location, and additional directional signs will be placed at the school location on East River Road. So bottom line is there was a scheduled conflict for Precinct 3 only, the St. James Episcopal Church on East River, and for this election only, if you vote Precinct 3, you'll be voting at the East River School Administration Building, which is behind the middle school. The public accuracy test for the voting program and tabulator will be held at the clerk's office on Tuesday, April 6th at 3 p.m. And the clerk's office will be open Saturday, April 30th from 9 to 2 p.m. to issue absentee ballots to qualified voters and to accept delivery of voted ballots. The state of Michigan voter identification law is in effect. Qualified voters also vote on absentee ballots at the clerk's office from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. on Monday, May 2nd. However, on this day, ballots must be voted and returned within Township Hall on this date. And then just as a note, there was a random audit of our previous presidential election, which the township fared very well in. So special thanks to the entire clerk's office and all of the staff. So it was good news. We're doing things properly from a voting standpoint here on Grosse-Ile. There's a police commission meeting tomorrow night, and that wraps up my report.
Mr. Supervisor, just to clarify, April 26th is the accuracy test.
Okay. All right.
Got
that to look forward to. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Clerk and Mrs. Deputy Clerk. Treasurer's report. Ms. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. For the month of February, Grosse-Ile had a total of $18,176,321 invested in various accounts. These accounts generated $4,915 and change, an interest rate of 0.42%. 0.42%. It's coming up. It's been 1.15. And there's a complete investment report through the end of February on my website. Or if you want a hard copy, you could see Annette in my office. that. The 2015 property tax season has come to a close. The 2015 tax rolls have been balanced, and we have settled with Wayne County. If anybody would like a breakdown of what we settled with Wayne County for, I'd be more than welcome to sit down with you for about an hour and a half, and we can talk about it. The Treasurer's Office continues to sell dog tags 2016. Provide valid rabies vaccination when purchasing your pet tag. Cost of the pet tag is now $12. Dog park passes are also available for $10. Residents and $20 for non-residents. I'd like Mike to give me just a quick update on the construction project.
Good evening. Just a quick update. Our contractor, as we delayed 1 week for our runway project due to this terrible weather we've been experiencing, the way it works is our contract has 175 calendar days start to finish is what the contractor is required to complete it in, so that we make sure they can get us in properly in that time window. We have moved the start date to the 18th, week from today. The contract will begin mobilizing. They are working this week a little bit. We need a construction trailer on site with some electricity to it, so the contractor is out plumbing that. This past Thursday, Township Manager Riem and myself met with the nearby residents, Grove, Lower Meridian, East River. I believe we had about a dozen or so people show up, express some concerns. I think you guys received a summary of the list that I typed up for you, and we're working this week to address those. So hopefully we'll come to a decent agreement and do as best we can to control
issues. Who do you have on the contact list for this project? Is for the residents?
It'll be myself.
Contact you. And any understand that the residents listening, if you have any questions or comments or any issues that you want resolved, you can contact Mike. You can contact me in the office. Most of you have my cell. If I can't be contacted in the office will give you my cell phone number. It's going to be a major project. It's going to run the entire summer. It's going to be noisy. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be a lot of trucks traveling back and forth. And I've been stressing this because there's no surprises here. We all know it's coming. And hopefully we'll get it done in least disruption to the public as possible. Thanks, Mike. When's our next meeting?
Rick, that's our goal. Our next meeting is next week, Monday, as well. Also, just a side note to add on top of that, I would hope if the board members do get any complaints or reports or concerns, comments, any of that stuff from residents in the project, please do try to funnel that through me, because we'll record and document everything and then make sure it gets off to the proper party. I want to make sure we have a clear line of communication going from us to the contractor to the engineer, and everybody's on the same page, and we can meet any residential concerns as quickly as possible. And just in case, I do ask, if I myself are in town, you can CC Township Manager Riem on emails or phone calls and things like that. Make sure we close all the loops.
Chief Porcerelli, you wanted to add addendum.
Correct.
All right, so traffic issues, dispatch 676-7100, not 911. 676-7100. Traffic-related issues with this, well, with this or any other project. Not 911.
Other than that, I'd ask the general public, we've cautioned our contractor to use extreme care coming across the bridge and in the school zone. I'd ask the same as the residents. Let's be extra careful coming across the bridge when they're hauling the double trains and things like that. It's going to be a little tighter than normal. Just take our time, and hopefully everything goes well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duker. Concludes the Treasurer's report. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Trustee reports, Mr. Malvesto.
Randy, I'm going to ask you a little help. Rec meeting on the 28th. Rec Commission meeting on the 7:30 at 28th, and there's a Fire Commission meeting on 7:30 on the 14th. That's about all I have to offer tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Mr. Budney.
Mr. Malvesto, there's no DPS meeting tomorrow night, and there's no Zoning Board of Appeals meeting in 2 weeks.
Well, Mr. Poziask.
Boy, am I glad you guys gave me all this extra time. Bike path meeting will occur the third Tuesday, which is a week from this Tuesday, tomorrow. At 7:30, we'll be discussing repair and inspection things about our bike paths. Greenways Open Space, April 30th to May 1st, we were going to have a thing called Dump the Junk, and there's a fellow in the audience that'll come up and tell you all about that. Pretty proud of the fact that we have this thing called Grozeal Connect, which I think is great. I made a quick phone call and said, we decided at the Greenway Open Space that the Oakville alert is on for this year, and from April 15th through July 15th, we should shut down all wood cutting on the island. And it got on, Grozeal Connect, in a great big hurry. It's another avenue to contact our populace. Some people will complain that they don't have a newspaper that's frequently publishing things like this, but Grozeal Connect's pretty good. It's going to get better. We had another rink benefit, all-season rink, and several of us worked at it, and we had a lot of fun. We contributed somewhere around $750 again for the event. And are you nodding your head yes or no there? She's nodding her head yes. And there's a couple folks that have said that they would like to make an extra donation to it. We're going to work hard at making that rink an all-season rink with a lot of activities on it. Some of the folks that were at the event said, when are you going to have another one of these? So we said somewhere around 4th of July. I think that'll be a much better attended steak roast. But I don't know if we'll ever get better corn than we had, frankly. That's really all I have tonight. Thank you for your efforts on that, and turn it over to the last person on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Pose. Yes, Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The next Festival Commission meeting is Wednesday, April 21st at 7 o'clock. We'll be hashing out the last-minute details for Island Fest, which is only about 40 days away. You can learn more about Island Fest, obviously, at the Grozeal website, Grozeal Connect, or islandfestgrozeal.com. But I just want to remind everybody that the fireworks are on Friday, May 20th. There's a lot going on, same things as in past years. This year at 7 o'clock on Friday, there's going to be country line dancing. The Persuasion Band starts at 8, and the fireworks probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock, whenever dusk hits at the time, because we're actually a few weeks earlier than the previous years. On Saturday, the 21st, we have the typical schedule with the parade starting at 10, a pancake breakfast on both Saturday and Sunday starting at 9. Farmer John, he's always a popular favorite. All the little animals. Jazzapalooza from noon until 6, and then Howlin' Mercy goes on at 6:30. Killer Flamingos at 8:30. And Sunday, the car show has moved to Sunday from Saturday. Then the A&R showcase and the typical carnival, marketplace, coffee bar, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be a good time. I'm just hoping and crossing my fingers for warm weather and no rain.
Got it.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. With that, Township Attorney, Mr. Asardi, which is good. Township Manager, Mr. Riem.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Board. I have a few items I'd like to report to the Board and the community this evening. First, I want everyone to be aware of and say thank you to Trustee Posiask. We had a safety training for all the maintenance employees that he donated over half a day of his time teaching the class, and I'm sure he put several hours into the prep beforehand. So he did that as a, in essence, donation to the township and as a benefit to the community. So I wanted to thank him publicly. And I know he doesn't like these types of things, but sir, it's, the class was very well appreciated. And as an administrator, I appreciate you doing these types of things for us at no charge.
Great bunch of people, and it was fun to do it.
Thank you very much. It was mentioned a couple times earlier, Grozeal Connect. We're currently in soft launch mode. And I say soft launch because we're putting together a press release. We're working on doing a video that we can show online, on the app, on the web page, on what it is and how it is. And I think Supervisor Loftus is going to talk about a couple of the items next. Is that correct? Under your report. So we're in that process. There are two ways you can get information from that app. One You go to it and you pull it out. It's like a web page. And there's a lot of links and a lot of connections to our web page. There's different buttons. There's an alert button. And those are things, as Trustee Posiak mentioned, a meeting cancellation and wood cuttings back on, that type of thing. And the other is a push notification where we push that to you. You get a tone on your alarm. It's, when it's similar to when you get weather alerts from apps or Amber alerts on your phone. So it'll say Grozio Connect alert. So we're in the process of setting up our whole internal system. We'll have the abilities for public safety to push information out if the coal freighters coming, things of that nature. We're in the process of doing the training and all of that type of thing right now. But we are very, very excited about this. Sometimes timing isn't what you want it to be, but channels went out, and we did not want to miss that opportunity. So we put the posting of Grozio Connect in channels. So it is available, is ready to be downloaded, but we're still ramping up internally. So, but please feel free to download it, share your thoughts with us, and we're working on that detailed video explanation. But just a couple different things that are really interesting about it is if you rent the Centennial Farm, for instance, for your family reunion, and you can have your family members have this app on their phone. They can hit the farm, hit directions, and it'll tell them to get there from where they're at. Another type of community promotion type of idea. So we're working through all that information right now. So stay tuned, but Grozio Connect, download it. Water's Edge Maintenance Building, the footings have been installed. The board is aware, and some of the community may not be. During the excavation, we found some used motor oil. Again, thank you, Trustee Posiak. As everyone knows, he's an environmental scientist professional, and he assisted us. It was used motor oil. We did the proper testing and removal, and the site has been approved, and all of the spoils are being hauled away. It's not. It's contaminated but not hazardous, I think is the correct terminology.
Very good. He's a good student.
So, and all the tests have come back as acceptable and approved. So, of course, when you find something in an excavation, you automatically wonder what next. Well, the whole area has been reviewed and tested, and we're in good shape. This Wednesday evening, in the city of Trenton, they are having a public hearing. They received an application to rezone McLeod site from storage and steel processing to heavy industrial, which is a couple notches up. Currently, I have the township planner reviewing this matter with the City of Trenton planner, and he's putting together a letter of questions, concerns, objections that I will present to the City of Trenton as soon as we have that letter, and I will share that with you. Obviously, we would all look forward to having a beneficial land use across the river from us, but at the same time, we are very concerned about it having a negative impact on the community related to traffic on the roads, traffic on the water, noise, dust, all those types of things. So, I mean, we understand it's an industrial site, but we obviously are very concerned about having it be a positive neighbor. And I think the City of Trenton understands that as well, too, so they're going through their process according to their ordinances. So there's no specific proposal being made at this time. And having a community development background, rezonings are a land use classification, and that runs with the land. It doesn't have to do with specifically what is there. It's a classification, and the ordinance would allow certain set or list of uses. So it's my understanding that the industrial classification is a couple notches above the industrial classification they're at now. So I know that's a very generic description, but I have not reviewed their ordinance in great detail, but we're having our planner put together a response. I will share that with everyone. And I expect that, I hope to have it today, but it's being put together right now. So that is in process. The other item that was mentioned earlier under the Treasurer's report was runway 422 rehab. And what I would also like to say and extend is thank you to the hard work of Mr. Duker, Treasurer Van Oss, Chief Porcerelli, and Chief Murdoch. They've worked with the contractor, the project engineer, and they're taking all the residents' concerns into place to make this as minimal impact possible. And I say as possible because Treasurer Van Oss said it. It's going to be noisy. It's going to be dusty. There's going to be traffic on the road. So it is not going to be very, super simple. But everything we can do to make it as planned as possible will make it that much better for all of us. So, and the group that I just mentioned doing just the thing. So I just wanted to pass it on to everyone and let them know. So I see hands. Yes, sir.
In regards to the rezoning application,
yes.
Is there any kind of a time frame that's associated with that, or could this go on for years?
It could go on. I'm not 100% familiar with Trenton's ordinance, but under our ordinance, probably from start to finish, we would be looking at 6 months to a year before we had a decision. So I would assume there's probably not much difference, but similarity. Yes, sir.
You know that my interest would be environmental there. There's a whole lot of leveling and cleaning up going on there right now. If you go past there on a daily basis, you'll find all of the mounds and humps have been flattened and bulldozed. Property is getting flattened. There was a railroad track that ran along Jefferson Avenue on which, for many years, gondolas that were used to transport molten steel were abandoned there. Those gondolas were thermos bottles, and being thermos bottles, they were fire-bricked and asbestos wrapped. I see things laying on the ground there that were taken off of those gondolas. So I guess not to belabor it, but I'd sure like to get some involvement personally with any documents you can find from an environmental site assessment done it. There's something not kosher going on there, frankly.
And I do believe that was one of the comments I know the planner was putting in about the environmental review and the environmental assessment requirements. So we'll make sure we wicker that in as well.
I don't understand after 20 years of leaving things stand still. And, I used to service that plant. I knew where things were dumped. And all those places are getting leveled right now. And I just wonder about that. Doesn't sit right with me. Can't do anything about it, but it doesn't sit right with me.
Yes.
So I apologize for not asking you this in advance. I don't want to put you on the spot, and if you want to wait till answer until next week, that's fine. But when you said the word soft launch on the Grosville Connect application, brought to mind the restaurant. I know they were going to have a soft launch in the spring, and I'm just wanting to know if you know the status of the final opening date.
They're going through the process of getting all the final details in the liquor license, so it could be probably within a month or so. I don't want to. They're waiting from the liquor control, but they're moving forward. So.
Thank you.
Not as soon as we'd like, but when you first said it, you're going to like it. Brandy gave me a tour late last week, and it's going to be nice. It's going to be nicer anyway.
Nothing else, sir? Thank you.
Thank you. Now I guess. All right, so it's my turn, and Dale covered a couple of the big issues. A lot of odds and ends. A couple other odds and ends on Grosville Connect. Yeah, we're working into it. It's a learning process for us. It'll be a learning process for all the residents. If you haven't figured out how to find it yet, it depends whether you have an Android phone or an Apple phone. If you're Apple, it's at the Apple Play Store, and with an Android phone, it's the Google Play. And there's a little magnifying glass. That's how you search. Push that. You'll have a blank there. Type in Grosville Connect. It'll go right to it. Download it, and it's pretty much ready to go at our stage of development. Our next, as Dale brought up, the next development we're going to have on it will be the push notifications. Your phone will buzz in your pocket. You will not be able to ignore it. Public safety issues will be out. We'll push those out. We're training our dispatchers on that. We're opening or solidifying our lines of communications for the freighter traffic, so we can advise you which bridge not to take for the next half hour or 45 minutes. We have a bunch of cards that everyone should leave here with. Do you have a stack of them in back? I already have them. I guess I'll keep them. I already have about 200 of these already. So we'll pass them out, and they're available at Township Hall. Pass them to your friends. I guess the last word I have is 80% of island residents have a smartphone, and considering as we're one of the older, if not the oldest community downriver, to have that kind of number, having this kind of technology and willing to use it will help them use it. But it's going to be a really valuable asset, cost effective, and it would just make your lives just a little bit better every day using it properly. So more to come on that. Covered Smokies. I was at actually our Congresswoman, Mrs. Dingle, invited the Downriver Mayor supervisors to a lunch and wanted to know what was on our minds. This was last week. Number of more local issues to each community, but the big one, the universal concern, we got talking about water delivery systems. And again, I'm extremely proud of the performance of Grosse Ile Township. Other communities with older subdivisions where they hadn't been as proactive have some concerns, but Detroit Water, Great Lakes Water Authority has kept the orthophosphates, and lead leaching is not a problem unless you go in and start monkeying with something. So monkeying is a technical term. If you're going to replace a service line to your home, and you are one of the, what do we have, a half a dozen or so still in Grosse Ile that might have lead service, get it done right, get it all taken out, because once you disturb that, you've disturbed it. If it's undisturbed, it's not problematic. Our concern as a body was that the EPA was going to overreact and mandate immediate removal in communities nationwide, or some unforeseen timetable that a lot of communities just aren't going to be able to afford. So we don't know where that's going. I heard, again, unofficially, that they're going to accelerate the change in the lead-copper rule and maybe more stringent on those requirements. You can read our water report. We had no incidents on our testing samples that exceeded the 15 parts per billion of lead in household water. So we have done our job, and I just hate the thought of an overreaction causing us to dig in our coffers and fix something that currently isn't busted. So, and a friend of mine chastised my terminology on the EPA overreaction, and we do have to look around, especially with our discussion now on what's going on over at DSC McLouth. The EPA really does look they are looking after our best interests in the long run. They really are. I mean, look at how clean the Detroit River is. That's the EPA at work, enforcing Clean Water Act, and the cleanup at McLouth will be enforced by the EPA. So I just don't want them overreacting and forcing an unfunded mandate that, in our case, and most of the communities there, really wasn't a problem. How it's going to be managed, I don't know. I'll keep you advised. But Mrs. Dingle is our contact for things at federal level, and she's very open to communication. So, other odds and ends. For those of you who are looking forward to Kiwanis cleanup last Saturday in the snow and the blizzard, you missed that, but it's been postponed until this coming Saturday, April 16th, from 9 a.m. till noon, and meet it behind the North Church. It's really a good time, and you really come to hate plastic bags. Because I probably 3/4 of the junk I picked up last year was plastic bags, but the state legislature is not taking any action against them. Anyway, if you got nothing to do Saturday morning. You want to help your community, show up. Wayne County Days at DIA. We all paid the tax for the DIA. It's added to our county taxes. So April 16th, also, bus pickup residents at 10 a.m. at Grosse Ile Township Hall to shuttle you down to the DIA. I know a couple who attended this said it was a lot of fun. Leaves the DIA at 2 p.m. and returns to the island. DIA, Detroit Institute of Arts. So make your reservations by Tuesday, April 12th. That's tomorrow. Seating is limited, so there are flyers available. Should be in the back of the room. BPAC, I'm surprised Walt's usually way ahead of me on these. So they're lazy rides, bike events for 2016. Saturday, April 23rd. You heard anything else, Wally, on that?
It's on Grosse Ile Connect, sir.
Oh, it's on Grosse. Everything is going to be on Grosse Ile Connect.
I got so enthralled with it, I just said no. Let the Connect do it.
Okay.
You know.
But let's see, and then the evening is the Glow Ride, which is preceded by a safety lesson from Grosse Ile Police. Mr. Knack, but you just want to make sure I got that out. So in case all this isn't on Grosse Ile Connect.
It is. It is.
Thank you, Wally. Anyway, the Glow Ride's a blast. You cannot have enough of lights on your bicycle. You may think you have enough. It can get real dark here. So put lights on your bicycle, and it's fun. Bike to School Day, probably also on Grosse Ile Connect.
Sure is.
May 4th, rain date of Friday, May 6th. Gosh, last year I just looked at Meridian, and there were probably 200 or 300 bicycles parked up, and it was really neat. And getting a chance to use our bike paths and not bounce around on the school bus for a day. Animal Shelter, the 5K and 1 mile fun run, the 5K annual run, both on April 30th, Saturday. Both events begin and end at Centennial Farm. Fires in the back of the room. That's a lot of fun also. I've seen some interesting dog decorations at that. Island-wide garage sale. People are already asking about garage sales. When can we have them? If you need permits. You don't need a permit, but I'm recommending wait for your garage sale until August 12th is sign up. Okay, so well, Carol will kill me. Friday and Saturday, 19th and 20th, 2016 Island-wide garage sale, and I'm cautioning people, if you can wait till then, we will have thousands of customers on the island looking for garage sales. It's kind of a zoo, but if you want to save your garage sale for the most customers, that's the time to wait and have it with everybody else. That concludes my report. At this time, let's see, open to public comment. So, my Mrs. Walker. Might need a little professional help.
Okay. It's that time of year, guys. We kayak, and the first launch is the 31st of May. It's our first season. We're looking forward to a big year this year. And there is a flyer on GITV. And I imagine it'll get on GI Connect too. Can you see that? Okay, great. That's that one. And then also, just to let you know, we're still collecting for the animal shelter. And it's till May for the water for the pets from Flint. And you've been talking about the water. Think of the animals. Throw them some money, bring a bottle, whatever. They're going to be taking a whole bunch up there, and they're getting a lot of press for it. And lastly, they had a problem last week. I think some of you knew about it with the animal shelter. Julie put out a little help. They lost their dryer. They got some money. They could use some more. So feel free to donate. They're taking some. And lastly, this is from Mr. Bundy. We have a welcome sign at the bridge. It went up about 8 years ago from Grosse Ile Yacht Club, and it was a joint venture between Grosse Ile and Mr. Smoke, and we have Mr. Walker to thank for it because he opened the door. And I know how hard it is to get something going. It took me 6 months with the artwork. But thanks to Tim, that is our first. And as you go on the bridge, it's been for 8 years, and they maintain it. Just to let you know.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Now, the guest speaker we've all been, Mr. Clark.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Legal fees. Okay, we got some big legal fees this time on the check register for Kotz, Sangster, and Waikisaki in the amount of $22, and to Pepper Hamilton LLP in the amount of $380.
What was the first one?
Kotz, Snagger, and Waikisaki.
What?
$22.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, the dump the junk is going to be this year 4:30 and 5:1. No cement, no electronics, no oil, no paint. Yeah, well, the people are going to bring here, they're going to talk, try to make any way they can to get it in. But they're not going to get it in. We're going to turn you around and go home. Now, lock the door. I've got one of these from the fire department. So this means if you call and you can't get to the door, instead of them breaking the door down, they have a lock on the outside. They unlock it, they unlock your door. Want the chief to explain a little more? Okay, I mean, for the residents, it's really good because say you're upstairs and you can't get downstairs.
We have, the Knox box system that goes on all the commercial buildings throughout the community. Rusty and I have expanded that project to the homeowners. And we have 3 keys. One's in the ambulance, one's on me, and one's on Rusty. And it's a safe security key. You put your keys to your home in it, and we come up and unlock the house, and we go on in. It does take a little fun out of it because we do like kicking indoors. But,
I know you do.
So, but
Woody would ride along.
Yeah, but it has helped. One lady we have on the island, we've used the Knox box probably a half a dozen times. Prior to that, probably a half a dozen times kicking her side door open. So it is a cost to the resident, the box, because they're not cheap. They run about.
Plus you pay $50 to put it in.
Yeah. Now, this is a national system. These Knox boxes are nationwide. So we have to buy them from one vendor and one vendor only. It's not like a lock that you have on your door for real estate. Yeah. These are physical boxes that get attached to the house. So they're out there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, this May 3rd vote for the school, isn't that the one voted down before by the residents?
I can't speak for the school board.
I know that.
The rhetorical question, but
yeah, right. Okay, fine. How much have we gotten back for the $125,000 we gave out?
Still in litigation.
Okay. Railroad Apartments, we are knocking that sucker down yet?
I guess that is also in litigation. I'm not sure. The attorney would be able better to tell us where that is.
Okay.
So, Mr. Sardi, I guess you will.
Tell us where it is.
They've entertained several offers on the property. I have a meeting with the receiver later this week to go over the current ones. We're going to continue to push. We have 2 options at this point. We can help the receiver promote the property and get it sold and bring in a developer that we trust that's going to make sure those buildings come down, or we can write the check for $200,000 plus to tear the buildings down and try to get back from them. At this point, everybody's opted to try to get a developer that we trust to take the buildings down.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clark. And I'm glad you brought up the dump the junk and the not accepted items, because one of the things I missed, the household hazardous waste collection, the weekend before dump the junk. So get rid of your hazardous waste the week before, and it's April 23rd. At Huron High School. It's Van Horn out to Huron River Drive, where Van Horn ends. Huron High School, Saturday, April 23rd, 2016, between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. So get rid of your hazardous stuff then, and the rest of the stuff. The flyer's in. I've got the flyer here. Let's see. I'm taking a break on that. April 23rd.
8 a.m.
Okay. What are they taking?
23rd.
Yep. You're a week late, but they'll have these later in the summer also. But so get rid of your household hazardous the previous Saturday, then dump the junk, and just for what, Mr. Clark, I know it's a lot of work for the dump the junk. Thank you, thanks. Now, continuing public. Now that I'm done again, continuing public comment. All right, with none offered, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved Trustee Buddy, seconded by Trustee Posiak. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned at 8:58. Have a safe weekend, everyone. Be careful, and we'll clean up the island Saturday morning.